Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm live with Jason Sniegowski, who took third place, undefeated, at a pretty large RTT. It was almost 24 players. The Dog Keeper pre-LVO RTT, which is interesting. They called it that when they let you have all the AOO stuff.
Yep. It was full Arks of Omen, so it was kind of neat.
Cool. Well, you're playing in Deathwatch. You're one of the first people who ever reached out to me to talk Deathwatch. You're a giant Warhammer nerd. You're a giant Deathwatch nerd, and you just placed pretty well. So, in one sentence, how do you think Deathwatch is with the AOO changes?
Extremely tough, but they can't score.
Okay. So, that's it, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the stream. We'll see you next week. No, we're gonna get into the tournament now, but I know everybody's here and wants me to peel that onion, so let's just get right into that onion. So without getting into the specifics of your list or your matchups just yet, why do you say that? Hi Tony, I love you too.
The main issue I had with Deathwatch going into the event, the list I brought, I loved it. The list felt really good. It was I thought it played very well. The issue was that the secondaries that are available to them are just not that good. They got rid of the Kill Xeno secondary, which co-order is just bad. You're rarely ever going to get more than a 10 on it. And then the Marine secondaries, the way I built my list, I wanted to be in the Assault Doctrine for most of what my army did, which means that I was not scoring as much for Codex as I would like to. But it did work out in one game. And then I always was in a sticky spot where my first two secondaries, I was looking at getting 10s and 12s. And my third secondary, I really couldn't even guarantee I was going to get an 8. I just always felt like I was going into it and looking at maybe a 30 on secondaries. And to be already 15 points down is horrible.
So it's a secondary scoring thing. And I agree with you. Cull order is terrible.
Yeah, cull order it's really bad.
It looks like I had you turned down a little bit on the audio. That should be completely rectified now. So for most games, I think you were doing banners, and then you were doing shock tactics almost every game, and then your third was Ivar, being annoying. I love you, buddy, but the whining has to stop. So what was your third that you were doing for most games? It looks like
it really varied. I think we're gonna have to wait till we talk specifically about each game.
Sure. Okay.
I did take banners all 3 games because banners was the only secondary that I could guarantee a 10 to 12 on.
Yeah. It's been a year or so now. I think it was pre-Nephilim, but there was an interesting breakdown of all of the data for secondaries and scoring in the meta at the time, and it was done by the Normal Blokes. That's it, down in Australia, Deneth and Liam Hackett, and they had an excellent breakdown mathematically that if you just want to hit that 50% win rate, you can win half of your games, your secondaries have to score 8 each. Yep. And every couple of points you can score more over that. So if you can guarantee one is a 14 or a 12, you're looking at increasing your win rate by 5 to 10% for every other 5 points you can score on your secondaries. So it is fascinating to hear top level players talking about that. Like eight is a marginal. That's marginal. That's a coin toss, right? You need 10. You need 12. You want 15. So
Yeah, if you're in a bigger event and you're planning on going 5-1 or 6-0, you have to consistently score a 12, 13 on every single one of your secondaries. And JP will talk about the eliminators here when we get to the list.
which that's a fantastic time to transition. Think we're gonna do just that. Here's the list. I posted it up in the Deathwatch Discord, link down below, by the way, a few hours ago, and people had so many questions. So I bet people in chat right now are just going gaga about to ask you questions. This list is completely different than I've been thinking about. My mind went right back to the pre-Army of Renown days where I'm like, let's cram as many like Redemptor Dreadnoughts into a list as we possibly can, right? And kind of like support them with the Dominus Aegis, support them with, wound rerolls from obviously our chapter tactics and stuff. You said, fuck all that, I'm doing my own thing, and ran the other way. So just a really brief overview. You have a normal non-Primaris librarian, no jetpack. You, of course, brought Premorphic Resonance and Fortified with Contempt because...
Best 2 powers in the game.
Yeah. And then you have the Beacon Angelus on the Foot-Slogging Librarian, which I know you can advance them and still cast, but it's an interesting choice, I thought. Watchmaster, beautiful. Love that model. Love that guy. And you took Paragon of their chapter, Adept of the Codex for the command point regeneration. Oh, Castron's asking, why the normal bolt gun and not a combi melta or a combi whatever?
On the librarian, I'm assuming?
Yeah, on the librarian.
Because the librarian was what happened was I was trying to get a captain in there and I didn't have the points. So I tried to find what fit, and that was a last second. It works as a second HQ.
Got it.
I just went with the bolt gun because I didn't think about any other things. And literally as I was walking into the event, I added the beacon to him, which I never used once in the entire tournament.
Oh, okay. Interesting. That's a really cool relic. I love that thing.
I do too, but I just never had a use for it all day.
Makes sense. I forget little stuff like that all the time. I think I forgot to like put a combat shield on some of my watch sergeants in one of my lists, but that's neither here nor there. You went with an Indomitor kill team, 5 plasma Inceptors. Surprise, they're super cheap now. They pack a huge wallop. And then you went with the heavy intercessors with the heavy guns, the executors. By the way, I should mention, you combat squadded everything, right? Every game?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That's what I figured, because otherwise you wouldn't usually put like heavy weapons in with assault weapons, So
correct. Yeah, everything got combat squadded all the time. And while we're talking about the Indomitor,
please.
The executor heavy bolters or bolt rifles, they're damaged too. And with Armor of Contempt now gone, that's a dead Marine every shot. And the heavy is damage 3. That's a dead aggressor or heavy intercessor every shot.
Or Terminator.
Yeah, or Terminator.
Yeah. Everyone that gets through. Is it AP1 or AP2 on the executor? Or executor?
I'm pretty sure they're AP2.
Right. I'm pretty sure too, because the normal one's AP1, so. Alright, very cool. Infiltrator squad, 5 men, bare bones. I don't even see the helix. Oh, there's the helix there. Why that instead of you could just take the 5-man as a Spectrus team. You don't have to. I don't know. And then I think you get access to Brotherhood of Veterans on them, at least if you ever needed that for some reason. But
I actually wanted two 5-man infiltrator squads in the list, which is why the suppressors made it in. Because I was
Spoiler alert.
just short on
Oh,
points.
okay.
I wanted two infiltrator squads. Infiltrators right now are probably one of the toughest units in 40k to kill. The Helix Gauntlet ignores the first failed save. They are able to be smoked, so -1 to hit. If they're in cover, they get the +1 on their save, which makes it good as well. And you can transhuman them. They
Yep.
are literally the cheapest, best unit, and they say don't deep strike anywhere near me.
Yeah, which is just fantastic. I haven't made a single list so far that didn't have a full like Spectrus kill team or 10 dudes to just spread out and block out an entire deployment zone, and also all the pre-deploy or forward deployment shenanigans you can get into is like really fun.
JP, not to ruin it for you, but the suppressors were originally in the list when the points were leaked. However, when the points came out later and the veterans were way too expensive, they were the first thing I had to cut, and they were in there for a very clever reason, and I'm sure you know what it is.
It's got to be to stop Overwatch,
I
right?
mean, if you've looked at the list, that's the one thing I don't want to have happen.
Yeah, yeah. And there's some pretty gnarly flamers out there. Chaos, and I don't just mean the flamers from demons. I mean like Chaos has some. Those Bale flamers are no joke. Lots of the
Yep.
things you want to charge, you don't want to Overwatch you. The Tau has some crazy flamers now. Plasma
And
flamers.
Salamanders.
Yeah, just insane. So, all right. Let's get into your Proteus teams. I think you have 3 of them. You do.
I do.
Again, you combat squad everything. So this kind of does bring me back to that like pre-AOR kind of feeling where folks would take like the five shotgun guys and then tons of Vanguard vets just stacked to the gills with all the cool war gear. You kind of did that here, except you ditched the shotguns and you have more combat threats. So you have storm shields, obviously, because they're free now, so why wouldn't you? Power swords, which is an interesting choice. I've been throwing power fists on all of my like throwaway guys. Is there a particular reason you love the sword more than the fist?
For general combat threat, I understand that the power fist is really good, but I would rather, in most situations, be close enough to like the Watchmaster to get the rerolls and just hit on 2s with the premorphic and just hit all the time.
Yeah.
And it's -3 base, -4 in assault doctrine, which you're gonna be in on the turns you charge. So you just take a whole bunch of 1 damage, you know.
Power fists are the same. They're -3 and then -4, aren't they? Strength. Because the Thunder Hammer is 1 more damage and 1 less AP, and the Power Fist is 1 more AP and 1 less damage.
Yeah, the Power Fist is
yeah.
Power Fist I believe is -3 and 2 damage, and the Thunder Hammer is -2 and 3 damage.
Right. But hitting on 4s and not 3s is substantial.
Yes.
That's a huge shift, so yeah. All right. Also, power swords, iconic, like super cool. Love to see them. I paint mine all kinds of crazy colors, and that way that they look like lightsabers, kind of like running across the field.
That would be awesome.
Storm shields, gotta have them now. I mean, 2-up save, and then 4-up invul, 1-up in cover. They basically have AOC again. It's
basically
what they have. Yeah.
And to answer Castron, yes, the massive AP is important. Anytime you can just tell your opponent you don't get to deny even 16% of my damage, it's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and you have another unit that is the exact same thing. So you have 2 of these same melee threat jump pack teams. So you're combat squatting these out to a 5-man Vanguard vet squad, and then the 5-man just foot slogging troops. The Vanguard vets being so fast, infantry, so they can go through ruins, all that stuff. Did you? I mean, you took another Vanguard vet and not a, because the Vanguard vets didn't get a bunch of free war gear. So they still have to pay for lightning claws, they still have to pay for storm shields, they still have to pay for thunder hammers, all that jazz. So have you thought about dropping one van vet, one of the storm shield ones, for maybe a bike for fallback and charge? Or has that just never come up?
Oh, it never comes up. Those 5-man Vanguard vets, whatever they hit dies. I even charged them into a repulsor executioner over the weekend. Killed it in 1 round of combat, which of course left the squad standing in the open, and then it immediately died when everyone shot at it.
Yep. that's the trading game.
Yeah, whatever they touch is gone. They never were in combat for more than 1 battle round.
So the fallback and shoot just never ever came up, and you'd rather have the extra storm shield for the potential saves than the fallback and shoot.
Exactly.
Makes sense. We had 2 different people ask about the bikes, and I know why. Firstly, it's that giant base, that like banana base makes it so you can get everybody into combat off of the bike base, basically, and then also obviously the fallback and charge strat. So,
but the removal of armor of contempt has really made this a more deadly game for the Marine players, and none of your units are going to survive anymore. There are too many armies out there with AP1, AP2, and too many shots. Whatever's out in the open will die. So it has to be able to deal more damage than it can absorb.
Yeah.
End of story.
So you're thinking basically like, can this 160 point unit take out 250 points or 300 points, right?
Yes,
and then
exactly.
if they do that, you just go, okay, great knowing you boys. I'll see you back in the bin.
Hope I roll hot on some storm shield saves. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. I love heavy thunderhammers so much. Telling your opponent that they're base -3 and then they're 4 damage, so they're -4 damage if you're in assault doctrine, is just gnarly. Love heavy thunderhammers so much.
And make sure you blood angels them so that you just remove something.
Yeah, or flesh tears, because then every 6 to wound is an additional AP, so you're at -5 AP at that point.
That's
pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. All right. So you got your melee threat squads. That's cool. Now here's where, like, this is where you brought so much cool Deathwatch tech. So we just talked about the heavy Thunderhammer teams. Now we're getting into frag cannons and cyclone missile launchers, and making my little black and silver heart flutter. So you have your range team here. And again, you combat squatted everything, right?
Yes, I did.
So how are you combat squatting this team?
This one was very unique as to how I handled it. Most of the time I kept all the Terminators together. And then I used the frag cannons for specific, usually either clearing a screen so that my assault threats could get through, or just the 2 damage shots from the solids on something big to just kind of help soften it up. The Terminators with the 2 Thunderhammer Storm Shield guys, that is a serious melee threat as well. And most of the time you drop them down, shoot some missiles at a vehicle, and charge a unit, you're picking up that unit.
Power fists, yeah. Are you just doing power fists and not chain fists anymore just because D3 damage is annoying, or?
Yeah, D3 is annoying.
D3 is so annoying.
I just roll ones. It's all ones.
Yeah. That is it flat 4 or 3 damage or 4 damage against vehicles though, and I think we're gonna see a lot of Redemptor Dreads out there. We're gonna see, Iron Hands is gonna come out swinging, and like you said, the Repulsor Executioner. Like if you can get them in there to tap one of those, right? You're just yeah. Base 3. That's right, base 3. So
Well, and again, with Armor of Contempt being gone, the Dreadnoughts are not going to live as long either.
that's true.
And there was multiple times when we get into my games, the first games was against Iron Hands. He brought 3 Dreads, 2 Gladiators, and a Repulsor Executioner.
Oh, that sounds like such a fun list to
It
run,
was
not to play against.
oh, I killed everything. It was so bad. But yeah, I mean, everything I hit just went away.
Yeah.
And then I lost a unit in exchange.
The old trading game. So let's dig into those frag cannons for a bit. You said you use them to remove a bunch of screening units. So I assume you were mainly firing the shell profile, which is assault 2, range 24, strength 7, -2, 2 damage, because that's a marine killer right there.
2 of my games were against Marines, and yes, I did use the solid against Marines. One of my games was against Eldar, and that one I just basically, no offense to the Eldar player, that game was horrible. His list was awful. I could have left that whole unit off the board and it wouldn't have mattered.
Wow. Okay.
I,
Well, I'm interested. I'm interested to hear about that game.
you can make fun of me when that one comes around. I played awful that round, and I think I still scored a 90 something.
Yeah, I think it was 97 to 52 or something. But is there any time that you find the frag profile handy? That's the Salt 2d3, Strength 6, -1, 1 damage with Blast. So like maybe into Cultists or Grots, it's probably super good, but its range is only 12 inches. So like you're already in grab them by the buckle territory.
Well, and what you're looking at is when you're using the frag profile, you're shooting at a horde army, and the new Arks of Omen, there will be some horde armies that come out on top. GSC is one of them that will come out as their secondaries are amazing. They will come out as one of the strongest armies after Arks of Omen. Guard is going to be one of our overlords. Marines are going to be up there, but it's specifically going to be like Black Templars, Salamanders,
Iron Hands.
Iron Hand's secondary is bad. I mean, they're going to be good because they can do what they do, but their secondary is bad. So I think they're
Okay.
going to have problems scoring. White Scars is the other one that is just their secondary is so dumb. Easy. It's an auto 15.
What is it? I've only played against White Scars once, and it was like right after 9th came out.
Their secondary is something like, if I charge somebody, I score 2 points.
Oh. And they all have bikes.
Yeah.
So they're charging every time.
Yeah, it's
okay.
It's like an auto 15. Like, hey, I charged people. Woohoo!
I have to ask, because I keep wanting to put them into my list somewhere. Do you think there is a world where you bring an Infernus Heavy Bolter yet?
Maybe. The problem is right now, with the way the meta is changing, Knights were strong before, and nothing happened to them. No points increases, no nothing. And some of the armies that were keeping Knights down got nerfed. Tau
Right.
got nerfed, not bad, but a little bit. Nids don't exist anymore. They are literally unplayable. So Knights don't have to deal with them, and Harlequins also are unplayable. So, I mean, well, they're not unplayable, but they got beat up pretty bad.
I mean,
So
so they went from a 4-up invul on their boats to a 5-up, and then they lost luck dice or something, or some amount of luck dice, right? It's something like that.
yeah, I don't play Harlequins. I don't own our Harlequins,
Okay.
so I don't even I didn't even really read through it. I just, from talking to other top end players, Harlequins are basically, they're out of the contention.
Wow.
Your top four are, again, it's going to be guard,
Yeah.
knights, some form of marines, and there is some talk as to what that fourth spot is. GSC's in there, Votan's in there,
Hmm.
but
What about
again,
custodes?
custodes are a sneaky one. Most people put them at fifth.
Okay. I mean, that's pretty solid. That's
It is, because all the nerfs that happened to custodes were taken away.
mm-hmm. Can they
It's
use
one
their
of
stratagems more than once a game now? So they can go back to like every turn they do their transhuman stuff?
almost all of the nerfs that were applied to custodes were taken away. So they sneakily got better, because we have one of my biggest complaints about the FAQs and things from GW is that they don't have a change log. So when they take
No,
something
they don't.
out, you don't know if they took something out or not. Like, you can literally go back through an FAQ and just notice that, hey, the main rulebook was FAQ'd, and you read through it 3 times and you're like, nothing was changed. Well, what was changed is that they removed like one little thing, which you don't even realize because it's completely different now.
Yeah, and got changed to an or vice versa, and
Yeah.
it completely changes the meaning of one of the statements. All right. Well,
Or like in the most recent balanced data slate, they literally took all the custode nerfs, well, most of them, and just removed them, and there's no change log on that. Like, if you didn't read it, you wouldn't know.
yeah, that's not surprising, unfortunately. Well, I keep wanting to make Infernus Heavy Bolters work, but when I do math via unit crunch on like various things, it's like the things that were gonna die anyway would die no matter what you actually shot them with. Like a 10-man normal guard squad, right? Like it doesn't matter
Yes.
if you hit it with heavy bolters or flamers, it's gonna die anyway. And
Or,
then the
yeah,
stuff that you want it to kill, it doesn't kill. Yeah.
more often than not, yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's get into those Terminators, Cyclone missile launchers, the D6 damage on the crack. Do you find that that's worth? I mean, I hate D6 damage so much, but I'd rather everything be 2d3 at least, but because I can roll those big fat ones for damage every time.
I just accept that I'm doing 2 or 3 damage and move on with my life.
Okay. So I should just accept that I'm gonna do 1 damage and get on with my life.
That's why we're not there yet, but that's why the eliminators are the way they are, is because I just accept the fact those are my las cannon squads. I'm just gonna do 3 damage.
Beautiful. So the frag cannons have a ton of blasts. The cyclone missile launchers also have a blast profile, so perfect into GSC, perfect into cultist, perfect into gaunt carpet if you ever run into that. But you said NIDs are pretty much dead in the water, which is surprising. Yep. They've had a really good run, so
Yep.
Yeah. So how generally are you using this squad? Are you starting them as strategic reserves? Because we can do that for free now. You said you never used the Beacon Angelus, so you didn't pull them to the Beacon Angelus user, which you can do from strategic reserves, by the way. So you don't even have to spend 1 CP to put them into the Teleportarium now, which is nice.
Yeah, that's the way I used them. This was one of my teleport squads.
Okay, so you put them in the Teleportarium.
Yep, this one and the Odometer both got put in the Teleportarium.
Okay. Interesting. So you're starting, like, your turn 1 is basically there's very little on the board.
Everything else is on the board. There were 2 of my games. I went first in my second and third round, where my turn 1 was, here's some banners, go, your turn.
Yeah, that's what I did yesterday in my Iron Warriors game. It was I raise banners, come at me, bro. All right, now we're into some more interesting things here. You brought suppressors. I like these things. I really wish we could bring them in a Fortis kill team or something. Unfortunately, in Deathwatch, you can't. They're 90 points now, or maybe they always were. But now, if you hit anything with them, you just have to hit. It turns off Overwatch, which is why you brought them. But they also,
100%.
have. If you do Codex Warfare, they are a heavy weapon. They have a ridiculous range, if I remember. It's like 48 inches or 60 inches or something. It's insane.
48. Yep.
It's pretty good strength. 6, maybe 7? 6, I think.
They're basically auto cannons.
Yeah. They're really, really cool. And then they fly to top it all off. So if you really need them to unass the AO, they can just like fly 12 inches or whatever. Because they aren't Gravis armor, so it's not 10 inches, so they are actually pretty fast. Of course, you get -1 to hit if you need to shoot after that, but so these guys are just there to tag that really strategic target that you need to get units into combat with, and they just
100. Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
There's no other reason for that squad. In my local meta, there's a lot of Salamander players, and that means a lot of flamers. So they were in the list, and like I said, I was 2 points over with the 2 squads of infiltrators. So the 1 squad of infiltrators became a squad of suppressors.
Got it. And is that a tech swing that you like now you can't live without it, or is it a thing where you're like, I could just charge through a ruin or whatever, and you're not really worried about it, or?
Well, again, when I first built this list, I was working off of the leaked points, which had our Deathwatch veterans at 22
Not.
and free equipment, which and I think the Terminators were 33 as well.
And
again, that's off the leaks, and there was enough in my original to have the suppressors and that 2nd squad of infiltrators.
Okay, yeah. I mean, 5 more points per veteran and 2 more per Terminator. I mean, that definitely adds up.
So. Yeah.
So okay.
It was a choice.
And then here's something very interesting that immediately stood out to me when you sent me your list. You have 3 squads of eliminators, all with, or 2 in each one, or 3 mans, I should say. 2 of them have the las fusils. 1 has the instigator bolt carbine, which allows them to move, shoot, and then they can move back. So you're doing a lot of peeking from behind ruins, I assume. The las fusils do base 3 damage. Their strength 8. So pretty good. And in Devastator, they're at -4 AP. Man, you can see how much I use.
Yeah, they're -3 normally.
Eliminators. So I mean, 1 squad I've seen before, 2 squads I've seen before, 3 is a lot. How are you using these guys? Like, are you sitting more or less in your deployment zone just peeking around buildings, or?
Those guys were all-stars all weekend.
Really?
All 3 squads.
Tell me more.
Basically just step out from behind the ruins, take your shots, step back into the ruins, getting 6 las cannon shots every single turn, hitting on 3s. And if you're close enough to somewhere where you can get rerolls, it was beautiful.
Yeah. And a reminder to everybody out there, their base ballistic skill is 2. So if they move and they fire, because it's a heavy weapon, they're hitting like a normal Space Marine now. So if you just give them reroll 1s, that's a lot of reliability. That's really cool. So heavy 1, strength 8, -3 normally. So in Dev Doctrine, that's -4, and then 3 damage base. Pretty good. They also have camo cloaks, so if they have cover, they have an additional +1 on their save. So in cover, they have a 1-up save. And they can smoke screen.
Quite enjoyable. Yep.
So, no, they can't smoke screen, actually. The infiltrators can. They can't. But yes. I usually run them together, so I have one infiltrator that lets them smoke screen, but that's a whole other thing.
I wouldn't know. I lost 0 eliminators the entire weekend.
Beautiful. And then obviously you can transhuman them as well. They are only a 3-man squad, so you can transhuman them for 1 CP. So if they do want to try to kill it, it's gonna be, you're gonna have to use a lot of resources to drop that that cheap unit. 75 points for 3 dudes. I mean, just so cheap now.
Well, it's not only that, but with the ability to move again after they shoot, they were never in a position where they could be attacked, and nobody wanted to push my line hard enough to get assaulted by my army.
Right.
So they were just always there. I always had 6 las cannon shots. Sorry, las fusel shots.
Yeah.
Every single turn. I always had them because nobody all weekend, nobody wanted to push the line. They were like, that melee component is too much. I'm just going to accept your las cannons. And the fire and fade means they never got shot back at. I literally lost 0 models from that entire list of 9 guys.
That's really cool. I mean, that's just a really cool tech piece. It's one of those things that makes Deathwatch interesting. And I know all Space Marine chapters can bring these guys and they could all outfit them this way, but when you're playing against or playing as Deathwatch, like, you're kind of expecting to do a little jank, you know? Like, we're the Eldari Space Marine chapter. And it's fun.
Yes.
And then your final tech choice, which you have to bring in the current meta with Knights and Guard and Iron Hands, and just there will be vehicles everywhere. You brought an Eradicator squad with Melta rifles. They started on the board as well. You didn't deep strike these bad boys?
Usually in reserve.
Okay. So strategic reserve, walk these guys on. That's a good call.
Yeah, they were originally a jump pack captain, but the jump pack captain had to go. I didn't have. I needed the extra armor pop.
Yeah. It's a whole thing. Like, I mean, that's why I was taking, like, one of my lists right now has a whirlwind in it for the fight last. I mean, primarily for that, but they also can't set to defend and they can't overwatch, which is kind of nice. And then I have redemptors, which do the same kind of thing. Like, they're kind of like distraction redemptors. Like, I want you to shoot at them so I can charge you, kind of thing. But if you don't shoot at them, they're redemptors. They'll shoot you a lot, you know, and then they can you know, punch a knight into submission if every attack actually goes through, right? So yeah, so you got to make that choice. Like, are you bringing redemptors, you bring eradicators, are you going to bring more plasma inceptors? Like, you got to have that high strength, high damage stuff now. So
Yep, and there has to be also a way to make it possibly survive to the next turn. Because if you can use any of your high damage pieces more than once, it's a great thing.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, that's the list. Do we have any more questions on the list, or any more things that you were thinking about when you made this list that I missed, maybe? Like, what secondaries you were going to take? You know, are you going to never move on to the other side of the board? Are you going to bait them towards you and then countercharge?
Unfortunately, I had the list primarily built basically off the leaks. I had to adjust it after that. And then I didn't actually get the book right away, so I didn't know what secondaries I was planning on taking. And then I have a fairly busy week, and then I went to the tournament.
Yeah. Thank you, by the way, for agreeing to come on here. I know everybody's prepping for LVO. It's why I haven't been reaching out and bothering people. It's because, like, I assume that they're just busy getting their reps in, or they're bag packed or they're like models painted, whatever. There's that there's always that last minute rush for every big tournament. So yeah, actually JP brought up a great point. Another thing that stood out to me is actually the fact that you didn't have the Primaris bike chaplain. Like, that guy is such a staple for melee armies, right? You got the +2 charge aura with the pile in and consolidate. You can give things +1 to wound in combat, +1 to hit at range. Like, you can do all kinds of wild stuff. So reroll wounds. I mean, just
I'm not gonna lie, I wanted him in there. It's just after I got all the pieces together that I wanted, I really didn't have the points.
yeah.
I did want him there.
He's 135 points and 2 CP if you want to really really load him up. So
well, and someone brought it up earlier in the chat, like the beacon itself, 100%. The beacon should have never been in there. That was a last minute, like, maybe I'll need it, and I put it in there. And the eradicators, if I really didn't need those, that is my bike chaplain.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
but I felt they were
135
more
points.
important.
Exactly.
I just felt they were more important.
That's fair. So would you change the beacon to, say, the Tome of Ectoclades?
In all honesty,
Ectoclades?
I would just get rid of the beacon altogether. I needed more CP. I found myself wanting more CP all weekend.
Okay. Let's talk about that. Because in my game yesterday against Iron Warriors, I was finding that I was actually drowning in CP at one point. Like, I think I had 4. And I used like 1 to fall back and charge again. I did, some of the normal stuff, but I wasn't really using rerolls because we get rerolls from other things. And either I was completely drowned in failed saves, and there's no way one was gonna like save a unit, right? So why reroll one? So what are you finding that you're using a lot of your CP for?
Unfortunately, well, I always every single turn, one of my melee units was either White Scars or Blood Angels.
Okay, that's 2 CP every single turn. So yeah,
every single turn. Then, because of my luck, I perils on 4 different casts across 3 games. I failed Premorphic Resonance, I think 5 times across all 4 games. So I just needed more CP.
yeah, I feel that.
Against my my Salamander opponent, which was round 3, I stuck my my infiltrator unit on the center objective. It was a 5 objective mission. I stuck the infiltrators on the center objective, and then turn 1, in order to make them stay alive, I had to spend the smoke screen,
And
the
transhuman.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I also rerolled a save with them, so I spent 3 on them.
Yeah, but I mean, for to go from 4 points to 8 points or 8 to 12, that's worth it. Like 4 points for 3 CP seems like it's probably worth it. And then also you're just keeping them, on their toes, because now they have units in the middle. They have to deal with it. So you're making them expend resources, which is great. And I was just about to ask Castron's question. So for those of you who aren't actively reading chat, they're asking if the Indomitors and the Eradicators teleport in and cover the melee dudes. So it sounds like you put the Indom team in the Teleportarium, you put the Eradicators in strategic reserve so they can walk on to the side turn 2. So if you think about where you're going to position everything, then yeah, they can all kind of come down at once and blast one thing.
Yeah, the Indomitor and the 1 Proteus team were both in the Teleportarium, and the Eradicators were in strategic reserve. Everything else was duck and cover to cover, and making those optimized. Usually counter charges, but mostly charges, because I would throw out like one of the Storm Shield units to grab something in the middle or something off to the side. And then when they charged in to try to remove that unit, that's when the Vanguard vets would come in and just mop everything up, or the Terminators from Deep Strike.
Very cool. So it's almost like you know what you're doing and you thought through how your army was going to play. Crazy. I'm still working on that skill level, my friend. So, well, let's get into your matchups now. So your first one was against Iron Hands, and this was actually a pretty close match from my notes. It looks like you eked out a win, 87-85.
Yes, it was. It wasn't too bad, I guess. It was a lot of tanks, which means when he made his mistakes and exposed them to me, I hit them hard. And the eliminators were, again, they were monsters in that game. I think I dropped one of the dreads down to 2 wounds turn 1, or turn 2, I forget. No, I went second, so it was turn 2.
Okay. I'm actually pulling up. I want to pull up this guy's list, but yeah, so JP has one last list question. He's asking if you thought about combi weapons instead of the powder weapons. So on the vets, on the normal vets. So there's a lot of meme lists out there right now, myself included, that's like, how many combi meltas can I stick in a list with storm shields? And it's good, but again, it's D6 damage and one shot. So
Yeah, I love melee. There's so many nasty things you can do to somebody's army if you do melee right. If you charge correctly, you can consolidate and grab a unit that they don't want you to touch. You can try point something. Specifically, like for example, in this first game, I try pointed the ATV so he couldn't get away from me, and I had a unit of infiltrators try pointing an ATV, and I was on the objective, so I'm OBSEC. It's mine.
yeah,
And I
he
couldn't
can't.
get shot.
Yeah. And he can't fall back because he's tri-pointed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So his list, a bunch of assault intercessors, 2 redemptor dreadnoughts, a contemptor, 1 invader, 8 ATV, of course, with the multi-multi, because why wouldn't you? 5 eradicators, 1 that has the multi-multi, 2 gladiator reapers, and a repulsor executioner.
Yep.
It's a lot of vehicles. So what did you pick for your Xenos hunters? Did you do heavy support then, or elites to kill the dreads?
I did heavy support.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that when I did assault with my melee squads, that I did have some sort of reroll on the vehicles, and made sure I put them down. Because tied with that was the fact that I took Bring It Down as one of my secondaries.
Yeah, which makes sense because that's a lot of vehicles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vehicles. So the Invader ATV is a biker, right? It's not a vehicle.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. It's a bike, which Deathwatch can bring.
Yes, we can. I've thought about it. Too bad I hate that model. I absolutely hate the Mario Kart model so much.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So what stood out to you about this game in particular? Was there like just a solid turn where everything came together? Did your opponent throw you for a loop? Like,
this one was not it was not an even easy match. My opponent was good. He knew what he was doing. He was not really skilled though on positional movement to avoid charges. And I was able to charge from behind cover so many times into his vehicles
Mm-hmm.
that the Reapers, the Gladiators, were just not able to fire Overwatch, and I was picking up vehicles left and right. I took, of course, Bring It Down. I also took Codex Warfare.
Mm-hmm.
I scored a 12 on both of those,
Nice. Fantastic.
and then Banners was actually my low scorer there.
At 10, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a solid game, man. That's real good. Which mission was this?
You know what? I'm gonna look at my book because as soon as I see it, I'll remember it.
Got it. I'm curious what the mission primary secondary was. We still haven't come up with a name for that yet, but
32, Death and Zeal.
I don't. Is that the Killmore one, or that's Sanctuaries.
This one is if you control an objective marker that you did not control at the beginning of the turn, you get 2.
Oh.
And if you destroyed an enemy unit that was in range of an objective marker, you get 3 instead.
So with that primary, secondary, did you think about shock tactics for a bit? Because you'd be double dipping for points at that point.
No, most of my units are OBSEC. So that means if he doesn't clear me, they're mine.
Right. No, I mean for you, like, so you took Bring It Down, which makes complete sense. That's a ton of vehicles. You took Banners, and then you took Codex Warfare, but instead of is it Codex Warfare that you could have swapped out for shock tactics, or is that another one? Does that Bring It Down? No, I'm just
Purge. I did take 2 Purge, so I cheated round 1.
Oh, whoops. Uh-oh.
Neither one of us noticed because he did too. So
we found out here in the recap. Oh boy.
We both took 2 Purges round 1. So
whatever. If you both cheat the same way, it's it's an even game, right?
Yeah. So
Oh well. But RTTs are super fun, low stress. Try out some goofy shit and get in 3 games. So I don't think. I mean, if you won the ITC by accidentally cheating, that's a whole different thing, right?
I never even thought about it, honestly. But yes, you are right. Any big event, like little events, even if I would have taken anything else, it was I did not catch a tough player to my 3rd round. I'll put it that way.
I just want to point out that this goes to show you, like, why I love this game is it's complicated, but it is so easy to mess up this game because it is so complicated. Yes. There are metas within metas. There are, like, you're playing the game when you're making a list, right? You could lose. You could potentially lose a game based on just bringing a shitty list. You could lose a game based on terrain placement. You like, there's a million ways to lose a game or mess up your play. So the fact that you accidentally double dipped, like, whatever, it's just another thing that you can accidentally mess up. So whatever. Yeah.
It's 100%. I mean, I could have taken Grind 'em down, and I think that would have been, I would have scored a 15 on Grind if I would have taken it. That's how that game went.
You crashed into them that hard, huh? You just, like, tore them apart. Wow.
Yeah. I could have taken Grind, and I would have been a 15. So
that's really cool. You play just a totally different style than I am, and I think it's because I can't get my mind out of the idea of how I used to play the AOR, which was like, bring 2 big 10-man melee bricks, buff the shit out of them, keep them alive as long as possible. And with AOC, that was a lot easier. And now it's like, you put a 10-man brick, it doesn't matter if they're mostly Terminators in the open, like, they're probably not going to have a great time. They get shot, So
exactly.
I gotta completely rethink the way that I've been playing my Deathwatch. All right. That said, Let's get your second game was 92 to 45, so this was kind of a blowout. This was against Ynnari. And I'm gonna bring up their list real quick here. Because I'm just curious, and I don't know Eldari all that well, but they had a bike far seer because they all do. Seer,
All do.
counselor, they all do. It's an amazing unit. Rangers. Oh, and then they brought a bunch of Harlequin troops. You got Vipers, Wave Serpent, Wraith Guard, Wraith Blades. Wow. Okay. And lots of like little bikes and lots of big bikes, and then lots of boats. So how'd this go? And what mission was this on?
So game 4 was scouring, or game 3 was scouring,
Okay.
and game 2 was recover the relics. So number 11.
All right. So what was your game plan going into this one? Like knowing you're into Eldari, like this is a thematic matchup for you. You get to reroll ones to hit in combat, just because they're dirty, filthy Xenos.
My plan on this one was completely destroyed on turn 1.
Oh, okay. So you already have a monkey wrench.
I
thrown
went
at you.
first. Yeah, I went first. And I basically like got on all the I got on all the objectives, and I went banner, 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 and I went, that's you. And so I think that confused him, because he came out with everything, like he was gonna run over me. And I'm like, I was so confused because he literally put his Wave Serpent with the unit of Wraith Blades like an inch and a half away from my deployment zone. And I got like 3 melee units sitting behind the wall. And I like my whole plan went out the window. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm gonna do right now. And so he finished up his turn. He literally killed nothing because I was all hidden. I didn't
Yeah.
want to come out. And then on the beginning of my turn, he spent the CP for something. And he only had 1 CP, leaving him like no CP. I'm like, are you sure? And he's like, yep, I'm doing that. I'm like, okay. I surround your Wave Serpent, killed it. No more Wraith Blades.
Because they can't actually get out.
Yep.
Yeah, because without the desperate breakout stratagem, if you put your models in the right spot, they can't get out. So you got to kill them for free.
Yeah, I killed the whole unit for free, which basically took like 300 points of his army and just threw it in the dumpster, plus the Wave Serpent for another like 150.
Isn't
I'm like,
desperate breakout 2 CP anyway?
yeah, he had none. And I'm like, I know you can't do it. I didn't remember what it was at the time during the game.
Yeah, I mean none is also less than 2, so
Yeah. So I literally went, I'm gonna go take care of that.
Huh.
And he also moved and advanced his Wraith, what are they called? The other Wraiths. The Wraith Guard?
Yeah, the Wraith Guard.
And I asked him, I'm like, do they have the flamers? And he's like, no, they just got the big guns. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, take a unit of Deathwatch veterans and I'll just white scar them and we're going to charge into them. And then I tri-pointed the one guy in the corner and I stood there the whole game.
What? Okay. Like, I'm sorry, you tri-pointed the Incarn or you tri-pointed the Wraith Guard?
The Wraith Guard.
Oh. So like one was left and you just stood there?
The power weapon guys didn't do a lot of damage because I was wounding on 5s. They're T6.
Yeah.
But anything that went through did kill them, but they are 3 wounds. So I just grabbed one guy in the corner.
Okay.
And I'm just like, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to hold on to you and I'm just going to stay here.
I'm tracking now. The way that was described was very confusing to me. But what you did is you tri-pointed one of the models in the unit, which means he can't move away, because if he moves out of coherency, that is an illegal move. He cannot do that. So by tri-pointing one model in the unit, you locked up the whole unit.
And not only that, but he couldn't shoot me.
Right. Which
With
the
the-
Wraith cannons are no joke. They're not the D-scythes or whatever, but they're no joke.
And so this is the game I told you you're allowed to make fun of me on. So on turn 2, I deep struck in my Terminators in his backfield because he didn't screen me out, and the frag cannons in his backfield, and the plasma inceptors in his backfield. I shot with the frag cannons, I shot with the inceptors, I shot with everything else in my army, forgot to shoot the Terminators.
Oh no.
And the Terminators were 9 inches away from his D cannon battery, and I forgot to charge with my Terminators.
It's because he threw you off on turn 1. Like, he just screwed up your mojo.
This isn't the worst part. I forgot about him the next turn as well.
Oh boy. That's
So
like the way I just play, man. So like, welcome to my world every time I play this game.
So I had a whole squad of Terminators just sitting there in his backfield near the Warlocks, near the D cannon battery that was just taking shots from, and I didn't do anything about it. And then the turn after that, he also recognized, oh, you have Terminators back here, and I literally walked away from the table to yell at myself. And then he turned what was left of his army to try and kill the Terminators. But by then I had already controlled 5 of the 6 objectives, and that game was way past over.
Please tell me one of you like threw your phone on the table and played yakety sax or something, because
No, he was kind of unhappy. He realized that he got beat in turn 2, and he got beat bad.
Yeah. I mean, man, yeah. Especially the longer a tournament goes on. My 3rd games at LVO last year. So my game 3 and my game 6 were just like, I was so loopy. I was playing Grey Knights and I forgot my psychic phase, and my opponent thankfully is like, hey man, you want to finish like shooting with that unit, maybe go back and complete your psychic phase? I'm like, oh, thanks, dude. I owe you a beer, because I'm tired.
That's literally my army.
Yeah, I'm tired. So, yeah. So you roll up the game, you yell at yourself, you learn some lessons. You still got a 92 though. I mean, 92 to 45.
Yeah, like I said, I completely rolled over the second guy I played. It wasn't a complicated game. He made some really bad mistakes that I was able to capitalize on, and I had control of 5 out of the 6 objectives, so I was winning that no matter what. So for getting the Terminators for 2 turns, though something I would not like to admit that I've done, what is it now? 3 or 4 days before I leave for LVO. I don't want to admit that that's a thing.
Well, you just did on the internet, on YouTube. So this is gonna live on in perpetuity forever.
Yeah, it will.
All right, and your last game was Salamanders for an 87-87 draw, which is pretty high scores for both of you.
That was the best game of the event. That game was insane, next level amazing. I loved that game. So I took banners, no prisoners, and engage. Engage was 1,000,000% the wrong choice. I scored a 2 on engage.
Oh wow, and you still got an 87? Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that tells you how the rest of the game went.
Yeah, you stayed in your deployment zone, clearly. Or at least on your side of the table.
Yeah, and that's the same thing he did. He basically stayed on his side of the table. It was a real slugfest, and we only opened up a little bit to fight over the middle. Both of us had so many. Well, he didn't have that many, but I did. I did kill a crap ton of his army. But I had a ton of models left. He had models on the relevant objectives left, plus the sticky objectives from Marines.
Yep.
It was so tough. Or maybe I scored a 4 on engage. It was something. It was not good. He had 2 units of infiltrators, which again, if you're running Marines, you need 2 units of infiltrators.
I
I
can't
couldn't believe
imagine.
strike.
Yeah, I can't imagine running a list right now without at least a full, like, one full Spectrus kill team, or 2 if you want to bring, you know, a sergeant in each one. But like the infiltrators are absolutely incredible right now.
Yeah, you need 2 of them. You can't play this game as a Marine right now without 2 units of infiltrators.
No, there you go. There's your troop choices, everybody. 2 Spectrus kill teams.
Well, 2 units of 5.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah. I just like to bring them in kill teams because it's a Deathwatch thing. That's it. There's no real reason. It's just for giggles.
Yeah.
They're already troops anyway, so you're not giving them anything that they didn't have before.
Castron, you're right. I wanted a second one. 100% wanted a second one.
Yeah, but you had to take the suppressors instead because you were down 5
I
points.
was at 2,002 points.
Oh, that's a thing that the AOO changes have really done that I've been struggling with is like either I'm over by 12 points or I'm under by like 34 points or something, like a lot.
Yep.
And then I'm like, well, what do I do with, I guess I can put some servitors in here. I mean, I don't know what else to do with 34 points.
Yeah, that is one of the biggest changes is that when all this gear is free, what do you add? If you're at 1978, what do you add? Nothing. You just go in 22 points down.
Yeah, one more Thunderhammer or heavy Thunderhammer if you could squeeze it in. But like that's really about it. Yeah. Company vets are all right. They don't really do anything that servitors don't. I guess they're a little tougher, but yeah.
Just had a big yawn.
Well, it is 10:37 over there.
Oh, that is true.
So, yeah,
that is true. It's
I'm 3 hours behind you, sir. So, so Castron's asking if you have, or you can only transhumanist smokescreen 1 at a time. So wouldn't the second infiltrator squad be squishier?
Yes, but that's not what the purpose is. You're only ever gonna risk one of them. The other one's gonna be used to be screening out your backfield, so you shouldn't have anyone shooting at that one.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they both are gonna have the Helix gauntlets since they're free now.
Yep, that's another reason to bring 2 instead of 1 10-man Spectrus team.
Yep.
There is a little trick we can do as Deathwatch 2, which is if you have access to a Phobos librarian, I definitely recommend the librarian, not like the captain. You can give them the Lord of Deceit Warlord trait. You can forward deploy both of your Spectrus teams to just play mind games during the deployment phase, push back their forward deployed units, and then you can redeploy them. You can like throw them up as far as you can just to be annoying, and then you can pull them back anywhere else that you want. So I think we're gonna see a lot more forward deploying units like infiltrators. So if you deploy first, because usually they'll make you the if you're playing player place, you'll be the attacker, guaranteed. But anyway. That's another mind game that you can play, is you can push back your opponent's forward deploying units.
Yeah, but here's what I'm gonna say about that.
Hi, Michelle. I mean Tony on Michelle's account.
Here's what I'm going to say about that. I don't want to use my infiltrator teams to prevent you from deploying forward unless it's a positional advantage.
Okay.
I want you to put those things out in the open because I'm coming to get them. I want the extra movement. My jump pack squad moves 12. If I white scars them, then I move in an average 14 or sorry 16. Then I get a 2d6 charge, so then I move 23. I could be in your front lines or even in your backfield off of a good movement off a charge. I want those infiltrators in the middle of the. But that's
Okay.
the type of army I'm playing. White
Yeah,
Scars also wants those infiltrators in the middle of the.
that's true. So don't put them in the middle of the board if you don't have to. Although there is that mission that's named, I can't remember right now, and you don't get CP unless you hold one of the No Man's Lands objectives, and you can at least tow them in like as close to your deployment as possible behind some terrain, and you can at least get some CP because it's rough starting around. Like if you're going second, you've lost 2 CP.
Oh, 100%.
On that mission. So you definitely want to forward deploy at least that. But
yeah, 100%.
um yeah, it's very cool. We actually didn't talk very much about your third game. So other than the fact that you thought it was amazing and it was very dynamic, what like really stood out to you?
It was well, first off, it was a Salamanders matchup, and Salamanders is one of the best new Marines. Their secondary is just dumb. It's a auto 10 no matter what. And if you try to stop it from being a 10, they're probably going to get a 15 on it.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's what it
What's
is.
their secondary, just for everybody like me who's curious?
Choose an objective. If they hold it, they get 2. If you try to kill a unit on that objective, they get 1 point if you don't kill the unit.
Okay.
So he took that objective with infiltrators, and I just went cool. Because if one of my units shoots at it and I just statistically kill 4 out of 5 Marines, he gets extra points. So I just let it be.
Is it not even at the end of the round or something? It's like
No,
if it's a
every time.
wow. So you have to know you can alpha strike it with 1 unit with not even like a shooting phase or something. That's wild.
I'll read it to you.
That's wild.
Says,
That's so good.
Promethean Creed. At the end of your command phase, if you control this objective, you get a 2.
Mm-hmm.
Each time an enemy unit is selected to shoot or fight, if it selects a Salamander's infantry unit that is within range of that objective, and the target of one or more of attacks but does not destroy the unit as a result of those attacks, score 1 victory point up to a maximum of 2 per turn. And at the end of each player's turn, if one or more enemy units were destroyed by attacks made by a Salamander's infantry unit on that objective, score 1 victory point to a max of 2 per turn. So they can score a 6 on this.
Wow. That is really good.
It's an auto 10 because you just put something on there and just I'm not going to go over there and get you off of it, because if I do and I fail, I give you points.
Yeah. And it would feel real bad to like rush one of your heavy Thunderhammer Vanguard vet teams in there and just to kill 5 infiltrators and then lose it, obviously. There is a Warhammer tabletop RPG. It's called Deathwatch, and it hasn't been in production for a few years now. The original Rogue Trader. Nice.
No, there was a Rogue Trader RPG.
Oh, I thought that there was just the Deathwatch game, but I guess I'm
No,
way out of touch
Deathwatch. Deathwatch is the 3rd book. I actually have all 3 of them.
Oh.
Rogue Trader is where you're a guy in the Undercity, basically like Necromunda.
Uh-huh.
The second level book is basically where you're like starting to be in the military, like guard or marine type play. And then the third book, you are like running around Space Hulks with Terminators.
Huh. That's quite the escalation from 2 to 3.
Yeah.
But
It is an amazing book. I like the Rogue Trader, the beginning level. It's way better. It's super detailed though. If any of you have any military background, it really takes into effect real tactical applications. Like you get bonuses for targets that are moving in certain ways. You get negatives for targets moving in certain ways. It's really a fun game.
well, it sounds like something I should look into. But we should also probably get back to Warhammer 40K.
Yes, probably.
Yeah. So your third game, he starts with this wild secondary. He places some infiltrators on that objective. You decide not to fuck with them the whole time, and then what?
He also took shock tactics, which was one of his lowest scoring.
Yeah, that's considerably harder to score than you think for most armies. I think it's better for us than a lot of armies.
Yeah.
But just because we
And
can
then-
bring so many troops.
And we both took banners, which banners was, of course, big scoring for both of us.
Yep. It's consistent.
Well, and yeah, and we both kind of just sat there. I got up in the beginning because the infiltrators, I put the infiltrators in the middle. I did use that tactic I talked about earlier where they were -1 to hit plus transhumaned. And then I spent 2 CP to make them not fail at leadership because I lost 4 of them. And that 2 CP gave me the middle for 12 points, plus I had a banner on there, plus I did the mission secondary
man.
on there. Yeah, so, I mean...
You spent 4 CP on that group. I mean, it's totally worth it, but it's a lot right off the bat. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was able... He went first. He couldn't get to the infiltrators on turn 1. So I scored a 12 on my turn 2. And I scored a 12 on my turn 3 because I did that.
Yeah, that's impressive. That's a huge swing. I mean,
yeah,
at least 8 points plus all the other points you're getting from your secondaries too.
Right, the banners, the mission secondary, everything.
Yeah.
It turned in because of his 2 units of infiltrators. I wasn't able to deep strike anywhere in his backfield, and because it ended up turning into a fight, basically right down the center line in a hammer and anvil. I wasn't able to deep strike anywhere near where I could get in them back, and it just became a giant mess. And it went well though. I think if it would have went one more turn, I table him. But after 5, it was just we tallied it up, and it was 87-87.
That's a solid score from both of you. It's crazy that you drew, like...
Yeah.
But it's a 6 objective mission, you said? Or 5? 5. So
yeah,
like
scouring.
Yeah. So you're really only fighting over the middle one, right? Like,
right. Yeah. And we both played it very defensively, which is probably what caused the problem in the first place.
Well, I mean... Oh, the scouring, yeah. Let me switch over to my web browser real quick so everybody can see. But the scouring is the one where they put all 5 like right next to each other. They're all in no man's land. There's nothing in your deployment zone, and they are it's within murderous range of one another. So
yeah. It was a very awful mission. Like we were just throwing units into each other. Luckily, my units were doing better. The eliminators were key. The eliminators picked up an entire unit of aggressors. So
Nice.
definitely key on the eliminators. Again, I loved having them. They were rock stars all weekend.
Was he running him as a six man? I ask as I'm already looking up
I think it was a
his.
5-man.
All right, that's he had a 5-man Flamestorm, of course, because he's Salamanders.
Salamanders, yeah.
He had 2 Redemptors, 2 Assault Terminator squads. Well, 1 Assault, 1 range weapon. He also had Eliminators with Las Fusils. He had 2 units of 3 Eradicators, and Apothecary. Redemptors, if I didn't already say that, he had Blade Guard veterans.
If you
He had
notice, there's a lot of, there was a lot of bodies in that matchup.
Yeah.
No prisoners paid well for me.
Yeah. Well, 2 infiltrator squads and 2 intercessor squads. It's a lot of bodies, yeah. I mean, I could do the math, but I'm not gonna, because I'm lazy. But yeah, I mean, you can max out no prisoners now, just because. I mean, that's one of the things is as Marine points go down and you bring more dudes, you're handing over potentially more points for no prisoners, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that when you're building your army, you got to think about. You know, you're gonna give up as a Marine player. You're giving up at least an 11, 12, 13 on no prisoners. It's unfortunate, but you're going to.
Yeah.
For example, a list that I'm working with right now, it's probably going to give up closer to 15 no prisoners, but you know, you just need more bodies. You know, you need more units.
Yeah. How often did the sticky objective thing come into play for you, or did it not matter because you already you had your infiltrator squad back there anyway to screen things out? So, and I don't just mean this matchup, but like in all your matchups, how effective has the Marine sticky objective thing?
It was a giant waste. It's a giant waste. I hate it.
You hate it.
The only thing it let me do was it let me pull units to screen out my backfield better because everybody was deep striking or strategic reserving some.
Yeah.
So instead of being on the objective and blocking out my backfield, I was near the objective and blocking out my backfield.
Right. So you're more efficiently blocking out your backfield.
Well, with 2 units of infiltrators, you don't even need to be efficient.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 units of infiltrators with I think they can be like 24 inches apart. I think you can do like the entire board Dawn of War.
Yep.
And just say no, you can't deploy here.
I was actually just gonna say in my game last night where I was playing Deathwatch versus Iron Warriors, my 2 units kept the entire on the mission Tide of Conviction, which is the long deployment edges and the like 6 yeah, anyway, I was able to screen out my entire deployment zone for most of the game. So,
yep.
So your suppressors with that long ass range could just sit back in your deployment zone or near your deployment zone, tag what you needed to tag, and then you could still charge it easily. Nice.
Well, yeah, because the suppressors with the 48-inch range, basically, and that giant movement on them as well, I could put them where I needed them to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then just, I don't care if they hit, I don't care if they do damage, or I care if they hit.
Yeah, you don't care if they do damage.
Yeah. No, Castron, yes, in this last game, they were in the center, and I had to use a melee unit to actually block out my back objective, which kind of upset me because there was a squad of Deathwatch vets sitting in the back.
not doing anything. Well,
Yeah.
blocking out your
In
backfield, but yeah.
in the other two games, though, it was the infiltrators and the suppressors that were blocking out the backfield. In the Salamander game, I tried something and it actually worked, so that was good.
I mean, it sounds like it really worked. I mean, the fact that you got to score maximum primary for turn 2 and 3,
Yeah,
and then also, did you use them to scan that objective for that mission for the 3VP or anything like that?
I did.
Yeah.
Um, I had at the end of at the command phase of turn 3, I had 31 points on primary.
That is really good. That is really good. Because once you've maxed out primary, you don't even give a shit about objectives at that point. You can just be murderous. You
Sorry,
know?
I miscounted. It was 33.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's fine then. Um, that's hilarious. Yeah. So the scouring is the one where you have to do the off spec scan,
Yep.
on objectives, and if yeah, then it's 3VP every time that you do that.
Yep.
Cool. So you have to do it because that's a lot of points that you are gonna throw away if you don't. Um,
Yeah, and
it,
then getting the middle one, that gives me a 9 on that piece of it. And if we would have tied the rest of the game, it would have been 8-8-8, for
mhm.
primary. So even with 4 8s, that's 32, and then 9 from the Auspex scan, that gives me a 41. That's
Yeah,
a respectable primary score.
absolutely.
But
Anything else? Oh,
I did get a 45 though.
nice. Um, anything else that stands out about this game? You just said it was an absolute slogfest, like everybody just firing up the middle, charging, counter charging, taking the objective away, holding the objective. um,
It was really just it was a tactically boring game because there was nothing more I could have done.
mhm.
Um, it was tactically boring, but it was a fun game. It was a tough game. We both were scoring everything we could, and we were both fighting for points. We knew neither one of us was in position to win it. But we both knew that we needed as many points as possible to get as close to winning it as we could. Um, Obviously, with Brad Chester and Lyle, and even though he didn't play, Tom Ogden was also there. Um, it was not a friendly environment for someone to try to win that one overall.
Yeah, I saw Brad was Brad brought Tau and Lyle brought Salamanders.
And it's amazing how the times are changing. If you check the LVO lists, I don't know if they're public yet, but um, if they are, you'll see me and him are both bringing Tau.
I was just about to ask what you're gonna bring to LVO, because I know this is the last hurrah of the Warzone Nephilim book. This will be probably the last hurrah of Tyranids, because like you said, they're kind of dead now in AOO,
Yep.
with their nerfs and everything. So yeah, we're gonna see lots of bugs on the table at LVO. We're gonna see lots of Eldari still, and Tau.
Yep.
Yeah. What? Where's your money on who's gonna win the thing?
Um, Tau is going to win LVO.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
My bet would have been on Nids, but all right, Tau.
No, NIDS is a 5-1 list. Um, at all the highest level events, NIDS will usually lose to Tau, Harlequins, or Thousand Suns at the high end.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle tables, it's usually Nids winning, and at most events, we usually only see Tau going, or excuse me, we only see Nids going 5-1, except in the hands of the best players, and
Right.
then they get the event win. And
Well,
Harlequins is the same way. But when you take the best of the best players and they're all now playing Tau, there's a very large community playing Tau at LVO. I believe that 2 or 3 of the members of Art of War are playing Tau. I know that there's a couple guys coming over from England that are playing Tau. They're some of the best in the world. I know that we have some of our highest ranked ITC players also all bringing Tau. I think LVO is going to be a mess of Tau.
all right, here we go. I just brought up the roster. Are the lists aren't available yet, right?
I have no clue. I haven't looked. Life has been really difficult lately.
That's fair. I'm just curious now. But we should probably not talk about this too much more. We should talk about Deathwatch, right? So,
Are there any Deathwatch?
I mean, I don't know about LVO. I know Lou Rollins is gonna be there. He always rocks his Deathwatch, but I was gonna what I mean is this video, right? So are we gonna we started this stream and I asked you that one question. I said, you know, in one sentence, how do you feel Deathwatch will be in the Arks of Omen meta? And you said that they're very tough. They do a lot of damage, but it's hard to score well because our secondary that's available to us, Coal Order, is quite frankly absolute garbage. And when you compare it to other faction secondaries like Stubborn Defiance for Dark Angels,
which is amazing,
it's very hard. Like, we're already starting at a huge point disadvantage, and you still, I mean, you played one Arks of Omen game. Obviously we're all gonna get in a lot more games. Maybe someone will crack it, but right now that's the way you feel. You still feel like it's just hard to score.
The army in itself, it doesn't have the options that other armies have. I will say that my top picks for Marines are White Scars, Black Templars, and Salamanders. Those are the 3 secondaries that I felt were basically auto 15s, and they felt actually unfair. They are really good. So the problem is, within the scope of things, if you don't have a good additional secondary for that time when you can't take a good secondary. We've all had those games where secondary 1 and 2 made sense, but secondary 3, you have no clue what to take.
Yep.
Salamanders, for example, has an auto take 3rd secondary. Auto take. You will take this every time. And you'll score at least a 10 on it. That's unfair compared to other armies, because if we take Cull Order, I'm just not scoring a 10. In fact, if my opponent's playing strategically, I might not even be able to score a 5 on it.
Yeah. It just depends on the list. Like stuff like Custodes, Coal Order, oh my god. Like Coal Order, you're basically betting on nearly tabling them. And against the like Custodes, you're not gonna nearly table them. It's just not
only
happen.
that, but if I remember it correctly, I'm kind of half looking it up right now. If you do end up facing something like Knights, if you just pick, it's not if they only have one, you score a 15 for killing all of them.
Yeah.
So you only get
it's only 5. Yeah. It's
and
not...
after you kill all of them, like I killed all your Knights. Yeah, okay, that's gonna happen.
Well, that's when you bring it down, but yes.
But it would still be nice to have a second option, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. And Coal Order, no, Coal Order's a purge, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember
it's
offhand now, but yeah, so you're gonna bring it down against Knights anyway. But Yeah, it doesn't feel good. You're right. I was actually surprised when I saw that we kept Cole order.
Yeah, the Xenos one was just way better.
Yeah.
I mean, it was almost an auto 15 always against Xenos, but it was only against Xenos. It gave us that weird other option.
Yeah.
I don't know. I see Deathwatch as an average, they're going to score between 77 and 82, and that's, I think, the best they're going to do.
Yeah. So they're not an S tier army at all then.
No, I see them low A, mid B at best.
Okay.
They're really good. They are super strong, and if you catch a good Deathwatch player in any of the mid tables, you'll probably lose. But
But they won't be winning any super majors or majors, is what you're saying.
I'm saying that any good Deathwatch player with a good list is going to be a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
That will be the one that will prevent people from winning an event. Yes.
Okay, got it. I got you now. Yeah. That's really like, it just I don't know if you've played any Age of Sigmar. I've played one game ever, so I am not by any means an expert, but what I really like about them is they don't have, at least at the time I played, maybe they do now, but they didn't have faction secondaries. They just had ones like there was a general list and you pick them at the start of your turn. And then you try to accomplish it during your turn. If you accomplish that thing, then you get points. It might be take away an objective that the enemy has, but you can only do it with monsters or whatever, and then you score 3 points. But everybody has the same list, and so it made it very fair. And there are obviously armies that do some of them better because like really fast armies are better at the movement ones and stuff. Slow ones are obviously worse, but it meant that everybody's picking off the same list, and you can't pick the same one more than once. And I'm wondering, I'm not saying steal this straight up from AOS, but I'm wondering if a more like generalized approach like that, where it isn't, okay, Necrons get to be the scourge of the mid table for the next 3 months, not because their army is good, but because they have 3 secondaries that are impossible to not score at least 10 on, right? Like, that's what happened. That's what made Necrons good for those 3 or 4 months, is just because all of their secondaries were so good. Their army was not good.
No, their army is still not good. But yes, their secondaries are 100% what made them even playable.
Yeah.
Nids, on the other hand, their secondaries were garbage. There was really no good Nid secondaries, which, by the way, they made a couple of them worse. So now they're even, Yeah. But the reason why Nids were so good is because as an army, there was so few bad units in that book.
Yeah.
They were strong, and I loved getting my Nids and dusted them off, and I played them for almost the entire last year. Such a good army. However, now that the Warriors are basically 45 points each, you cannot put a squad of Warriors on the board because no one is paying 200 points for a squad of 5 guys with a 4-up save. And the Zoanthropes, which gave the army-wide invuln, which the invuln was not really that good, but it was good when it was key. It's now 210 points for a unit of Zoanthropes. They went up, 60 points a unit? I mean, it's insane. And then the Raveners went up 5 points also. So a unit of 5 Raveners went from 75 to 200. So the 3 main units of the Tyranid army, I brought 2 squads of Warriors, 2 squads of Raveners, 2 squads of Zoanthropes. I mean, my army went up almost 600 points.
Wow, that's a lot. Holy moly, that's a lot. Yeah.
So that, because obviously you have the Hive Tyrants that also went up points, and there was other pieces that also went up points. But yeah, the army went from playable to now you need a new idea. Or
We
there's C
lost
values at best.
we lost you for a moment there. You went from they were one of the best armies in the game to now you need a new idea, and then everything after that was lost.
You're going to need a new idea, and the new idea is going to be C tier best.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Because with what they've done, it's just they're garbage.
Hunting Heresy is saying they're evolving, but they're evolving into a C tier army apparently.
Yeah, they Tyranids have been bad on and off for as long as I've owned them, which has been since 2nd edition.
I haven't been playing that long, so I have no opinions to share on this matter. I just know I've had my spokes pushed by a few times, and I'm not okay with that because I'm the anti-Xenos faction. But our anti-Xenos stratagem against Tyranids is Garbo.
Actually, it was really good recently.
It was really good into when they had the Monster Mash Army Renown. I can't remember the name of it now. The Crusher Stampede, that was the name.
No, Crusher was garbage. That we knew that was getting nerfed the moment that was released. They just wanted to sell models.
Yeah, bring 7 giant bugs that are unkillable. And 10-point OBSEC models or whatever. It's pretty crazy. Actually, at last LVO, I was hanging out with Brad, and he was saying that he took the army, he took Crusher specifically so that he didn't have to think during a game, and he could just stay drunk the whole time.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's the most Brad-like response I've ever heard, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
I guess we should remind everybody that we do this live so that you can ask us questions. So if you have questions about Deathwatch or LVO or what is on Jason's shirt, you have the opportunity now. I can't read the bottom, but yeah, just now's your time to ask all these pressing questions. But I guess I'll ask you one.
Okay.
What would you change in your list? Or is this a list that you were just really happy with the way all the moving parts fit together, and other than the fact that we don't have a automatic 15 secondary, would you change anything?
Well, I was super happy with the way the list played. There are some changes I would like. The melee units were amazing. I don't know if I would change the veterans to combi weapons. I kind of like them, but I also see the benefit of the combi weapons. The Terminator unit, I kind of wanted another Indomitor kill team with more heavy intercessors and eradicators.
Castron's Castron's question is amazing, but please finish your line of thought first.
That was literally my next thought was going to be exactly what he just said. I also wanted more plasma inceptors. Because they're just so cheap.
I put a list on the Deathwatch Discord where I'm like, here you go. Here's the list that I wish I could afford or like to paint, because painting that many Inceptors would be not fun. But 33 plasma Inceptors I fit into one 2,000 point list. And I could probably fit more if I dropped 2 HQs. I think I could fit in 5 more.
Plasma Inceptors are so good.
And then you're just gonna overcharge every time because you have so many, you don't care if they die.
Right, yeah. I'm not there yet. That list is nowhere near done. It is a great starting point though. To answer your other question though, this is my Doctor Who shirt, and it has the full Demon's Run poem on the bottom of it.
Oh, okay. I I've watched maybe 3 episodes of Doctor Who in entirety. So
I've seen
that's
all of them. I love Doctor Who.
it is a portion of nerddom that I have not ever really dipped my toe in. But I'm glad you like it. So, yes, I think plasma inceptors are going to get nerfed. Let's hope this time they nerf the plasma guns and not the whole inceptor like they did last time. Because I think they were like 45 points and then they nerfed the inceptors to be 60 points or whatever. Instead of just making it 10 points for the plasma exterminators or 5 points or whatever, they made the base model 15 points more expensive, which was bleh.
So for to address this, for larger events like LVO, normally they're a 3-day event, and you have to win into the top 16 or so to play in the 3rd day. The first 2 days, you're gonna run into people of high skill, low skill, and because the pool is so much larger for the number of people in attendance, there is a chance that you just may catch random person for 4 or 5 rounds and you will never see that guy that's going to win the event.
Mhm.
Smaller RTT, especially in my area, we got a lot of big hitters in this area. So if you go to a local RTT in this area, chance you lose round 1, round 2 because you'll catch some big name guy. I mean, the same thing does happen obviously at LVO, but there's also a chance you could literally catch nobody for all 6 rounds. And I don't mean nobody by like, like I'm just saying as far as internet personalities or people that have been out there.
What I liked about LVO last year as a total new player is that I got to experience 6 games in 2 days. I got to hang out with a lot of really cool people, meet a lot of interesting folks as well, and play in armies I'd never even seen. Like my second round was against Alex McDougall, who he's won GTs before. He's on the Art of War team. He's a very nice man. I'd never played Gene Stealer Cults before, and then it was piloted by him, and it was a great game. I got my ass kicked, and it was fun. I got to play like demons for the first time, custodes for the first time. It was a lot of fun. And it's grueling though. I mean, I knew I was never gonna make it into the top 16. But if you do want to play 3 more games every year at LVO, there is an RTT on Sunday, so you can play your 3 games on Friday, your 3 games on Saturday, and you can play 3 more games on Sunday. I opted to just hang out on Sunday because I was dead meat, man. I had been up drinking too long. I'd gotten too little sleep, and I just finished playing 18 hours of Warhammer.
I was there with Brad. So I played all 9 games. I RTT because I missed the top cut. But I guarantee you I had way more than you did.
Oh no, I know you did. I was enjoying being social. I think when I ran into you at Army check-in, like during the Army hobby track, the paint judging, I think you were already drunk. Because
we started. I think we started on the plane, man. We were.
Yeah, I was like, oh hey, Jason, and you're like staring through me. You know what I mean? Like,
it was there. There was way too much alcohol for that week.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell a really quick story. So at the back of the main hall was a bar. Of course, like between rounds, it would get swamped. So I was chatting up on the first day, the bartender, and he was letting me buy the buckets of beer for like $2 a beer. I thought that was the price. The next day, it's some other bartender, and it turns out that it was actually like 1/4 what the actual price was supposed to be. And I'm like, well, what happened? Like, that's not that's not the price I've been paying. But I guess the guy just liked me, or maybe he just got the price wrong. But I drank real cheap for a while. It was nice.
Yeah, I all I know is I had way too much. I think we went through about 18 or 20 bottles of wine.
That sounds like Brad. I mean, he probably went through 20 or 24. um, now Jason's asking any tips for staying in it. So it depends. Like if you're there to just have fun, do whatever. If you're there to win, maybe don't drink. But have good shoes, drink lots of water, try to get some sleep. Shoes are huge. They really are. Like comfortable shoes will take strain off of your legs, off your butt, and off your back. You're gonna spend hours bent over tiny tables, so sit as much as you can. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but if you can grab a chair, plop down in it, stay hydrated. That's probably the number one thing, and don't forget to eat. I know it's Vegas, and so like a cheeseburger is $26, and it's probably a terrible cheeseburger, but eat, you know.
So here's what I will say. Back many years ago at Adepticon, they had something called the Iron Man competition. And what this was they took the placings that you got within the certain events, and the lower your score was, you won the Iron Man. Well, to participate in the Iron Man, you had to play in the championships on Thursdays, either the championship finals on Fridays or another event on Friday. There was another event on Friday night, and then you had to play in the teams on Saturday and Sunday. It ended up being like 13 rounds of 40K in 4 days. And if you placed well in all of them, you would win the Ironman competition. But the main key about not being exhausted after that is be around people that you're having a good time with. If you're having a good time, you're enjoying the game, you're not going to feel tired until you go back to your room and just crash. But then just get a good night's sleep and do it all again tomorrow.
Yep. Also, another thing, if you do go to LVO and you see Brad Chester or any one of these other personalities that you know, if you see Alex McDougall, if you see Jason there, if you see Lou Rollins, if you see all these people that you know, if you see any of the Vanguard Tactics guys, just as long as they're not in a game, just go say hi. They're really nice. They really are. Like, there is no us versus them bullshit. There's none of that. Like, just walk up to them, ask them how they're doing, how their games are, offer to buy them a beer. I bet you they'll say yes. You know, like, it's honestly some of the most approachable people I've ever, like, never known, if that makes sense, right? Total strangers. You can just ask them to hang out, and they probably will, but, like, between rounds, you know?
But most of the time,
super approachable.
Most of the time, if we play in a round anyway, if it goes one way or the other super hard, we'll just offer to buy your beer anyway.
Yeah, like I said, it's really, honestly, just super nice people.
Most of the community is just they're just a whole bunch of guys that just want to play with their mandals. That's all we are.
Yep.
Like, none of us are going to be millionaires or famous from this ever, you know, except for in this community. I mean, obviously, community, but there's never going to be anything amazing out of this. It's just our little world, and we're happy, and we're glad that you're part of our world.
Yeah. So just go, have an open mind, have a great time. You'll probably run into people that you played a game with you really liked, and you'll be like, "Hey, man, you want to go snag lunch, or you got dinner plans? Let's go."
Oh God, don't be anywhere near Brad or me when we're doing dinner plans, please. Just this is me asking for a personal favor, because Brad always invites everyone to go to dinner. And when I'm ready to go to dinner, I just want to go eat. I don't mind hanging out afterwards. I hate going to a dinner place and finding a table for 40 and having to wait an hour and a half to get seated.
Yeah. A table for 40 is pretty hard, man. Like anywhere you go. Even, I mean, some folks don't have weddings that big. You know, a lot of folks don't have weddings that big.
Brad will honestly, he will ask everyone within like a 10-mile radius to just go to him.
I can definitely give you this advice. If somebody wants to go to Nacho Daddy on the strip, don't order the fajitas. They'll come out lukewarm and they're $33. I made that mistake last time. I'll never make that mistake again.
I tell you what, the moment I found out that Chick-fil-A was open across the street, in between each round, I went and grabbed a chicken sandwich for $5.
There you go. Here's how to do LVO on the cheap with Jason Sniegowski.
It's Chick-fil-A, man. It's delicious.
Oh man. All right. Well, I think we've run the course of this conversation. I can't believe there are still 17 people listening to us drone on. Final call for questions. So you're going to play a couple more games of Deathwatch, I'm sure, in AOO. You're going to try out some stuff. Like, you're not throwing away the faction. Like, you're not like, this is garbage and I hate it, right? Like,
No,
yeah.
Deathwatch is my favorite Marine faction. Maybe after Imperial Fist. But
you've had a hard run if they're your favorite.
I'm well aware. That's why they're painted, you know, multiple. They got a yellow and black combo, so I could go all kinds of different colors with
Either
them.
way.
But I got even my Deathwatcher yellow and black because I wanted to again keep all my Marines able to be played as anything. So
yeah, fair enough. So with that though, like if you want to go to events and you want to win, you want to be super competitive. Are you eyeing Tau as your main race? Your main army?
No,
then?
no. I am eyeing the 3 Marines that I listed, Black Templars,
okay.
White Scars,
and Salamanders.
And Salamanders. I'm also eyeing GSC because I have probably about 7,000 points of that are just not painted. So,
well, I guess if you want a project, there you go.
I kind of don't, but yeah.
GSC has like a body horror thing to it. I'm not into.
Yeah.
Personally,
I mean, the first couple lists that I built with GSC were like 180, 200 models. I'm
just
not a big
aberrants and gene stealers, as far as you can see.
No, that's a bad list. Do not do that.
Like the last year at LVO, Manny Chima brought that 140 rack list, or was it 160?
I think it was 140, but yeah, that was also not good.
Alex wiped him out of the the finals. No one wanted that list to win.
No,
not even Games Workshop wanted that list to win.
Well, they knew they had to fix it. It's the same thing that happens all the time. GW always sees something and they're like, "Oh, we got."
Yeah, at least the balanced data slates are coming out on like a decent timing now, because you know I've always heard those stories of the good old days where you play a broken army for 4 years.
Yeah,
like broken good or broken bad, it doesn't matter. Like you're just broken for 4 years until the next version of the game comes out and you finally get your codex. Yeah, I'm happy to see those days appear to be over. Drukari Summer was pretty bad. Actually, wasn't that like 6 months that they were unstoppable? Uh-oh.
Yeah, about 6 or 8 months.
Yeah, you looked like you were having a PTSD flashback there for a second. Like your jaw
I
clenched, your eyes closed.
I
You were
was
doing
because
like breathing exercises.
I was that was when I was at my top of Deathwatch, and I was running about a 60 to 70% win rate against Dark Eldar.
Yeah, I still haven't beaten them. I haven't played them in a long time either, but I'm a fat like 0-8 or something. These like 0-9 against Drukhari.
Yeah, when Jakari was the top of the mountain, I was playing Deathwatch, and I actually was
Doing
for
pretty good.
most of the year, top of the mountain. So
Yeah. I mean, that's back when we were running 3 Redemptors, 2 Relic Contemptors. I saw some lists that even had 3 Relic Contemptors in it.
that is true. That is
Yeah.
true. That was back in the Dreadnought days.
Yeah, it was get them out of the boats as fast as you can, and then it's after that it's cake. But if they stay in those boats, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't see any more questions, and apparently I'm tired enough I can't remember the word questions. So this is probably a good time to end things. Thank you for hanging out, man. It's been 2 hours. It is 11:30 where you are. I'll let you go to bed. Actually, I will ask you one last question. What are those 2 trophies right over your shoulder? Oh, there are a bunch more. A bunch more.
Yeah. Is it?
I meant the 2 big ones on the right.
2 big ones on the right. I have Buckeye Battles, Best General, Rocky Top, which is Brad's. That's first place from Rocky Top.
That's cool.
And then behind that, the biggest one is the first place from Golden Rhino. They had an event. I won that one.
Nice.
See if I can.
Oh yeah, look at
find
that.
that up better.
Did you win that one with Deathwatch?
Tau, I think.
Okay. You've been to a lot of events, so yeah.
Yeah, I have. I think God, I got 2 or 3 best painteds up there. I got my 4th place from ATC up there. Best in faction, Tau, Ultramarine, Deathwatch, best theme, best painted. Yeah, there's been a lot I've done.
Damn, man. You got best in faction Tau once?
Yep.
Wow.
I've gotten best in faction Tau. I've gotten if you go to ATC, I got best in faction Knights, Admech, Necrons, Deathwatch.
You should do a video where you do like a walkthrough of just all your stuff. Like if you try to like take over your whole garage floor and just lay out all your armies.
What you want me to? I could pick up the camera and walk you through it. I mean, I got.
Yeah, we should do this some other time. I don't think people are tuning in to do that, but
no, I don't think so either.
Yeah,
they want to hear about Deathwatch.
That's right. Well, thank you very much, Jason. I'm glad to hear that at least from a tabling perspective, we're in a good spot. There's hope for the Deathwatch yet. Good luck at LVO.
Thank you.
And condolences to your liver.
I don't think I have one.
Oh, well, there you go. Then condolences to your bloodstream in general. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for your questions. We do these lives so that you can interact with us, and you certainly did. And I will see you all later. Don't forget,